That's what this book is. It's just gay perfection. Oh, and on multiple levels, too. This is just, like, so many layers of just gay. It's like a motherfucking gay Tootsie Roll Pop. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Let's go! Hello everybody, welcome back to Airlocks and Aviaries. On this fine Thursday, I bring you another analysis video. Now, I've done movies and shows before, but this is the first time I've actually analyzed a book on this channel, so this should be fun. Welcome to my review analysis of this lovely gay book, The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Because June may be over, but in case you're new here, you should know that Pride Month never ends here at Airlocks and Aviaries. And with that, let's get into it. So let's start off with a little recap in case it's been a while or you haven't had a chance to read this book and don't plan on it but still want to hear what I have to say. Anyway, last chance to click away for spoilers though. By the way, it's not going to be too many spoilers, but yeah, let's get into it. This book is a soft fantasy with fantastical people and creatures living in a world a lot like our own, set in around, I'd say, the 1980s. I don't know, it doesn't really have a date on it. It follows this character, Linus Baker, a self-proclaimed unextraordinary middle-aged man working for an institution that monitors magical children in orphanages. He's assigned the case of the most classified orphanage ever, the House in the Cerulean Sea on Marsyas Island. His assignment is to stay there for 3 weeks to review the orphanage and send updates by mail to his superiors and decide if it's safe to stay open. At the orphanage, Linus meets the most extraordinary magical children and the reason why the orphanage is classified, the Antichrist himself in child form. But most intriguing is the master of the orphanage, Arthur Parnassus, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, a secretive man whom Linus will eventually fall in love with. During his stay, Linus bonds with the children, even the Antichrist, defends them against bigoted townspeople, learns that the orphanage master is actually a phoenix in disguise, and eventually realizes that this orphanage is the most kind and loving place that he had judged way too harshly in the beginning. Linus eventually convinces his superiors to let the orphanage stay open, and then he quits his job to move into the house to be with Arthur and help raise the magical children together. So, all in all, a very feel-good story. And as you probably can tell from my synopsis, it captures the LGBT experience. Not just metaphorically with the magical children and people, but literally, too, with gay, sapphic, and transgender characters. And they're very upfront about it, too. In the second chapter, the main character says out loud that he's not attracted to women. A very refreshing change of pace from skirting around actually saying it, even if the story is explicitly LGBT. Now, there are so many metaphors and themes running through this book that are so beautiful and I could spend hours going on about, such as the storyline of Lucifer, called Lucy, learning that his nature as the supposed Antichrist is nowhere near as powerful as the nurture of his siblings and adopted parents. Or Arthur Parnassus' story of overcoming his abuse and learning not to hide his fire powers and showing them to the people around him that he cares about without being afraid of hurting them. Or even the story of Zoe the island sprite and Fee the young forest sprite with no family that Zoe cared for and learned to let down her boundaries for. But I'm going to be focusing mostly on something that really spoke to me throughout the book, the themes of normal versus extraordinary, which run through this story a lot, in a lot of places, specifically in the love story between Linus Baker, the ordinary caseworker, and Arthur Parnassus, the orphanage master phoenix in disguise. Most of their romantic moments together feature a somewhat insecure Linus who feels he's not extraordinary enough for Arthur to love him, and a very in-love Arthur trying desperately to convince Linus that he really is something special, he just hadn't had anybody recognize it in him yet. Because Linus is something special. Even as a non-magical human living in a world amongst gnomes and devils and wyverns, Linus learns that he can be extraordinary. It's his character's journey. Even though his home before Marsyas Island was a tiny place with only a few professional business outfits in the closet and dying sunflowers in the yard, and he never left the place for any reason other than business trips, even though he continues to adamantly insist there's nothing great about them, he managed to do the impossible and open his heart to a new family who thought themselves unlovable by anybody from the outside. He cared for a scared little boy doomed to bring on the end of the world and bonded with him over 50s music and helped when no one else could. He loved and was loved by one of the most powerful creatures in this world, the Phoenix, Arthur. The reason Arthur Parnassus loved him was because he was so unabashedly himself, so caring and open and accepting and empathetic, normal but beautiful parts of his humanity. Everything was extraordinary about his ordinary. Normal people in this world can be the most extraordinary of all just by caring and by being themselves, which is an incredible message. But what's more important is what Arthur learned about himself as well, which he hadn't believed was possible until Linus came into his life, that he could be normal too. Arthur is a phoenix, an incredibly powerful magical creature who can set himself on fire and turn into a great and powerful bird made of fire. He runs an orphanage for a group of powerful children: Lucy the Antichrist, a forest sprite, a transgender garden gnome, a baby dragon, a giant jellyfish, and a boy who can shapeshift into a dog. All of these kids and Arthur are extremely abnormal and have been told all their lives that they will never be accepted by society. They even have to live on a secluded island to get away from everyone, especially the town full of bigoted city people who want nothing to do with them. They all believed that they would never be normal and never fit in. Now, being special, extraordinary, and not normal is not a bad thing. People say it all the time, that it's good to be different, and that's very true. It's good to be different and embrace what's different about yourself. But being different to the point where you don't fit in with the rest of society can be hard. It can be lonely. It can leave one feeling isolated, like all the kids on the island who, while they have each other, sometimes just want to be like everyone else so they can venture away from the house and just go get an ice cream cone like a normal kid without people staring at them or judging them. This is illustrated very well in one of the specific characters, Chauncey. He's a very sweet, kind, and polite kid who just so happens to be a giant land-dwelling jellyfish. And his greatest goal in life is to be a hotel bellhop. He just wants to work at a hotel and bring people's luggage in. But all of the characters are understandably worried that he'll never be able to, just because he's so different looking. Sometimes the thing we crave most is just a normal life, to be able to just simply exist and live as ourselves without it being controversial or frowned upon or judged or shunned by society. And people who already have the ability to live like that, like Linus, took that for granted. But he showed them that they could have a normal life. He showed them that it was possible for them to leave their isolation and venture into the world as themselves without hiding. Because while there are people who didn't accept them, Linus and the other people that did would protect them and stand up for them, especially for Arthur. Arthur believed he had to hide on that island for the rest of his life until Linus came along and showed him that he could be himself and embrace his true phoenix form and still live a normal, ordinary life while being extraordinary. And that is a very powerful message. This metaphor with the magical creatures is incredible, and it fits so well with neurodiverse people, disabled people, POC, and of course the LGBT community, especially trans people. See what I meant when I said this book was layered? Like, yes, it's a gay romance, but it's also got incredibly gay themes running through it the whole time. This story teaches everyone that just by being yourself, you can be extraordinary, and just because you're different doesn't mean you don't get to have a little ordinary. This is a beautiful book. I enjoyed reading it, and I highly recommend it to the gays, Good Omens show enjoyers, fantasy romance fans, and gay fans of Good Omens and fantasy romance. I just recently got another more recently published book by TJ Klune called Under the Whispering Door, and I can't wait to read it. I am super excited. Maybe I'll do a video on that one next, who knows, once I finish it. Alright everyone, that's it for the video. I hope you all have an amazing day, and remember, you are valid.